Hello, my name is Greg Field. I'm an attorney, and I'm also a dad thanks to Surrogacy. I've been practicing law for over 12 years and have recently expanded my practice to do art law, that's assisted reproductive technology, helping with surrogacy matters, representing you, the intended parents, representing surrogates, egg donors, and handling embryo donations. You've probably noticed this thick document sitting on the table. No, this is not my notes for this video. Rather, this is a sample legal contract between you, the intended parents, and the surrogate and her husband, or partner if there is one. Don't let this large wordy contract scare you. I've been in your shoes, and as an intended father, I'm here to support you and help you grow your family through surrogacy. And today, I'll give you some legal insight as to the aspects of this process. My wife and I learned so much through our journey, and we now run Field Fertility, which is a legal and consulting business, using our professional backgrounds combined with our surrogacy experience to help in a very personal and real way. So if you have any questions, please feel free to email me at Greg, that's with 2 G's, Gregg, at fieldfertility.com. We've also put together for our IP clients an overview of the big picture process from creating embryos to the birth via surrogacy, with some of the legal bullet points highlighted. You can download that overview as part of this. So today we're going to cover 3 things. Number 1, the attorneys. Who are they? Yes, more than one. Where did they come from? How much do they cost? 2, the legal process and timeline. And 3, things to think about for the contract, including state, country, things like abortion, LGBT parenting, reimbursements, and more. Now, a legal caveat. Nothing in this video constitutes legal advice. It is important to talk to me or another art attorney about your specific scenario. This video is simply some insight into the legal process. So number 1, the attorneys. First, when you think lawyer, you might think adversarial, arguing. But most lawyers in this community come with an approach to work together. Certainly each lawyer is looking out for their client, but the goal and key word here for the parties is intent. The intent is mutual. Coming at it knowing that, you will most often find lawyers that are civil and not argumentative, and in fact, work out terms respectfully. There are some pretty amazing people in both domestic and internationally in this field. So there will be a minimum of 2 attorneys. One for you, the intended parents, and one for the surrogate. I've had a question of, well, my sister's my surrogate, so can't we all just have one attorney? It's family. No, you can't do that. By the way, haven't we all had family issues? If not, well, now's not the time to start. Each side needs to have their own attorney. Let's not cut corners. Let's make sure everyone's represented. You, the intended parents, will pay for your attorney, and you, the intended parents, will pay for the surrogate's attorney. This presents a conflict of interest when one side is paying for the other side's attorney, but that conflict is normally waived with an understanding that the surrogate's attorney solely represents the surrogate and has no responsibility to the intended parents. Yes, just before I said a minimum of 2. Sometimes there are situations where there are 3 attorneys, where neither attorney is located in the state where the child is being born, and a 3rd attorney helps with that state's laws, or where there is international surrogacy and an attorney specialist from that particular country gets involved to help with the specificities with their laws in dealing with parental rights and bringing a child back into the country. Where do you find an attorney? Well, if you're working with an agency, they will often give you a list of a few attorneys for you to consider. You can use one of those. You may already have one of your own selected that you found online. You may have used an attorney if you went through an egg donation process. Ultimately, you're looking for somebody with experience in this area of law. But Greg, I'm asked, my cousin, friend, sister, whatever, is a lawyer. Can't I just use them to handle the contract and cut out some costs? Well, technically, yes, they're a lawyer. But you wouldn't use a real estate lawyer to help you with your criminal matter. These are laws particular to each state that attorneys need to know. There are laws particular to each country. And Even if everything's happening in one state, each county in particular within that state handles things differently. So get somebody with experience. With regard to domestic surrogacy, All Things Surrogacy, the host of these videos, put together a map with the general legal issues in each state. We have that hyperlinked on one of our free downloads called Surrogacy Legal Resources. Download that. Click on the hyperlink and All Things Surrogacy map, and you can check out your state of interest. Okay, Greg, so how much does the attorney cost? Well, the fees vary. It is already so much money, but the cost ranges depending upon the attorneys you select. IP's attorneys, intended parents, could cost anywhere between $6,000 to $12,000, maybe even more. A surrogate's attorney is going to range between maybe $1,000 to $2,000. So, now that the attorneys are in place, let's talk about item number 2. What is the legal process and timeline? Often by the time attorneys get involved, people are already knocking on the door. They're ready to get on with their journey. So I'm used to handling high priority, expedited matters. That leads to some late weeknight consultations to make sure things get done quickly, or weekend. With that being said, the timeline varies. It could take 2 to 4 weeks, generally, depending upon how quickly things move. Because it looks like this. We will meet. We'll often Skype if you aren't local. I'll draft a contract that lays out the parameters of the contract based upon the agency, their terms, and what we've discussed together. You will review it, and if changes are needed, we'll revise it. Then we'll send the contract to the surrogate's attorney. They'll review it with the surrogate and come back to us with any changes, if any. If there are changes, we'll discuss them. We'll make changes we agree to and send it back to the surrogate's attorney for them to sign and notarize. Once signed by them, their attorney will issue what's called legal clearance for their side. Then you will sign and you will get it notarized. And I'll issue a more comprehensive legal clearance for everyone, directing it to the medical clinic and a copy to the agency. And after that, we wait. We're looking for a heartbeat. It's important you keep the attorney in the loop with transfer dates, confirmation of heartbeat, whether it's a singleton or twins, so I can watch the calendar for part 2 of this legal process, which involves confirming your parental rights. Again, each state and country vary. Sometimes there's court proceedings, other times there's just a document submitted to vital records, or there's pre-birth orders or post-birth orders. But as an example, in California, most often and when it's possible, we get a pre-birth order establishing your parental rights. That will require you and the surrogate to do a few more legal documents, and then I'll make sure that the hospital has that order and instructions, and that you are on the birth certificate. Again, that varies by state. So that's the process. Now, item 3. What are those things to think about when dealing with the contract? Well, look, the key to the contract is to lay out all issues up front so that they aren't issues, so that they don't become issues. It's important to make sure everyone's on the same page. Often this is handled before coming to legal. There's an agreed upon match, and that's done appropriately depending upon certain preferences. Some of those issues include how many embryos will be transferred, 1 or 2. How the parties, the IPs and the surrogate, view abortion and selective reduction. Again, you want to make sure you and the surrogate are on the same page and have the same intention. No contract can actually legally enforce a woman to have an abortion, but it is laid out in the contract to express the intent of the parties. Another term to review is compensation. Again, that depends upon the state and whether it's even allowed. And reimbursements, like travel, food, housekeeping, childcare, wage loss. The contract will also lay out some standard conduct for the surrogate to avoid, and sometimes there are other specific preferences of the IP, or maybe some religious preferences that are added. Other considerations to think about, in part for the contract, are the logistics. Whether there are issues in certain states and countries dealing with and pertaining to LGBT parenting, or obtaining a passport. With regard to LGBT parenting, I mentioned before our Surrogacy Legal Resources download. There's a link there to a great LGBT resource called Path to Parenthood. Check that out. Some other considerations we talk about in the contracts are where you live, the state or the country, versus where is the baby being born. And as I just mentioned, whether the baby is going to need a passport in dealing with international circumstances. If the main legal contract wasn't enough, there are even more addendums to it. Often things addressing like trust accounts, power of attorney, and the infamous Zika virus. Ultimately, as an intended parent, I've been there. I enjoy representing my surrogate clients with amazement and gratitude for what they do. And I enjoy representing my intended parent clients because I know the stage that you are in your journey. It feels like a lot, and well, it is a lot. So now as a lawyer who has been in your shoes, I take my time to explain to you this legal contract, and I take care of the legal process so you can return your focus on your journey as you head into surrogacy. I hope this general overview of the legal process has been informative to you. Please feel free to email me with any questions at Greg, that's with 2 G's, Gregg, at fieldfertility.com. Download the 2 free forms we talked about, the Surrogacy Journey and Surrogacy Legal Resources. And check out my website at www.fieldfertility.com. Also, you can like my page on Facebook, as my wife is often posting inspirational quotes to help you through your process, as well as stories and informative articles. Thanks for listening, and good luck to you moving forward.